Hey, welcome to this Woman Wednesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming today live as we do every single day, Monday to Friday, noon to 2 Eastern from the Question Tequila Studios. We're in our little old Liquid Lunch outpost in downtown Manhattan. That's right, Mom, we're still on Broadway. And right down the street here before getting into this wicked Women Wednesday episode, well, let's take a look at the New York Stock Exchange, which is once again rejoicing. Dow up 160 as we speak, well above 29,000. I've been mentioning to you for the last few weeks that a close this Friday above 29,000 brings 30,000 right into focus. So we're keeping our eye on that closely. What Donald Trump referred to as a beautiful monster of a phase one trade deal is seemingly to be signed today. The markets love it. The bulls are on the run, and the bears are crying right now, and they may continue to be crying. On the Bitcoin front, great things are happening there. I mentioned in my newsletter, the Monday Morning Quarterback, that 8,000 was a feisty level. If it broke down below there, it could be a trapdoor to 5,000. And I did say, for those of you subscribers, you know on Monday that I said 8,500 was the number I was looking for to close above to establish a new stabilization point. We're well above 8,500 right now. Let's see if it holds for this week. And with the market raging and Bitcoin also raging, we got to continue the rage and bring in my co-host and managing editor, Frank Morano, who joins me as he does every single day. Hey, Frankie.
Hello, John. How are you doing?
I'm all right. What's happening?
All right. There's a ton of news happening. A historic day in terms of the country because we are seeing the House impeachment articles transmitted to the U.S. Senate today, finally after a month. And the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, named several of the impeachment managers that are going to be prosecuting this case in the Senate, including some fan favorites of those of you at home, Adam Schiff, Gerald Nadler, and of course New York's own Hakeem Jeffries, among the 7 that were named. We'll break it down in our politics panel with John Burnett and David Eisenbach. But another case not related to impeachment, at least not directly, is what I'm speaking, frankly, about. General Michael Flynn. General Michael Flynn was President Obama's pick to be the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Then he fell out with President Obama. They didn't have a great relationship. They had some key differences in terms of things like fighting Islamic terrorism. And he supported Donald Trump, even though he wasn't even a registered Republican. Donald Trump comes about and he says, you know what? Maybe I'll bring about one of the most accomplished generals part of my defense team. Donald Trump makes him national security advisor. Lo and behold, what do we then learn happened? Well, there were some conversations about sanctions, and Michael Flynn was dishonest with both the vice president and the FBI about the nature of those conversations. So the president said that's why he fired Michael Flynn, but that's not good enough for the anti-Flynn forces that permeate so much of Washington's permanent government. James Comey, who was the head of the FBI at the time, by his own admission, said that he sent FBI agents in to talk with Michael Flynn without an attorney because he felt he'd be able to take advantage of the situation, being that it was a new administration and maybe Flynn would talk to them without an attorney, and that's exactly what he did. Unfortunately, what he did in those conversations was implicate himself criminally, and he ended up indicted by Robert Mueller and the special counsel's office.
Tricked them, Frankie.
Lo and behold, faced with the prospect of a big legal bill and a lengthy trial, this guy chose to cooperate with the independent counsel. Answered all the questions, met with prosecutors for hours and hours and hours, even offered, after pleading guilty twice, even offered to delay his sentencing so that he could testify as a prosecution witness against a business associate in Northern Virginia. But lo and behold, last year, Michael Flynn got some new attorneys. And these attorneys, including Sidney Powell says to Michael Flynn, wait a minute, you were totally taken advantage of here. They bamboozled you. They conned you into taking a guilty plea. And Michael Flynn says, you know what? I don't want to plead guilty anymore. And that's precisely what he did yesterday. He moved to withdraw his guilty plea.
Great.
And this is, keep in mind, the prosecutors want to send him to prison for 6 months even though he's already offered substantial assistance in this Russiagate investigation, and who knows what other investigations they utilized him for. Now,
is this allowed, Frankie? Like you can withdraw and then what? They start over again, or there's new sentencing guidelines?
That's precisely the point of this commentary. It's now up to Judge Emmett Sullivan as to whether or not General Flynn can withdraw his guilty plea. If General Flynn is allowed to withdraw his guilty plea, then he'll go to trial. And he'll face trial for these crimes of being an unregistered foreign agent for Turkey and of lying to investigators. The prosecutors are going to have an opportunity to make their filing. I suspect they'll say he shouldn't be able to take his guilty plea back. My question for the prosecutors is if this is such an open and shut case, what are you afraid of? Why not take your chances at trial? Let's see this case go to trial. Let the prosecutors present their evidence, and let Sidney Powell and the Flynn defense team put forth their case about how this guy, a real, genuine American hero, in spite of his mistakes, this guy was really taken advantage of by James Comey and the FBI. I hope Judge Sullivan does the right thing here. He has a history of doing the right thing in very controversial cases, and I hope he does the right thing and orders a new trial for General Flynn.
So let me get this straight, Frankie, because I get confused on this stuff. You always set me straight. Andrew McCabe admitted a few weeks ago that he lied to the FBI. He lied to his whole team and sent them on a goose chase, chasing after a leaker when he knew he was the leaker. So the acting director of the FBI lied to the FBI. Has he been charged with any crimes yet?
Not to my knowledge.
Not yet.
Unless it's an indictment under seal.
And then Hillary Clinton's team was allowed to destroy all these phones and hammers and bleach and all this other evidence that was requested. No one's been charged there either.
Not to my knowledge.
But yet, Michael Flynn, a decorated general, on an administrative charge, really, right? Signing up, registering as a foreign agent. They're literally trying to throw this guy who put his blood, sweat, and tears into the world to keep our liberties and freedoms protected. And they want to throw this guy in jail. Shows you what a wacky, wacky world we're living in. And you know what? The deep state is really dividing us. That's where we're getting divided, Frankie, in the deep state, you know? Well, Bill Barr comes out and it seems like he's got one band of merry men who are trying to track down the bad guys. But it still seems there's another part of the Justice Department that, you know, wants to take down Michael Flynn for some reason.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what Judge Sullivan does here.
No question. Sure. There's no question about that. A little later on in the show, we're going to have on Zen Sims. She's a model, actress, supermom, and mentor. She's going to be talking about why women have been excluded from most of the nominations, the Academy Awards. She's also going to be checking in with us on the Weinstein trial. Chris Markowski is going to be here a little later on. He's the watchdog of Wall Street. Be telling you all the little tricks of the trade, tips, tools, and tricks of the trade that you need to know. And also my brother Derek's going to be out there on the Man on the Street. We're going to mix it up an hour or two when Johnny Burnett and David Eisenbach come here. One of the best mix-it-up duos out there. Drew Taylor from the Wild West Crypto, decorated Navy SEAL, motivational speaker, and two-time best-selling New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author is going to join us for a couple of segments in hour two. But one heck of a show you got planned for us today, Frankie boy.
That's for sure. It's going to be very interesting.
I did want to weigh in because the whole Soleimani thing is going to kind of get muffled up now because, you know, the impeachment articles, and then the Iranians, they want to get nukes, but with regular rockets, they're shooting down commercial airliners by accident. So we should probably keep their hands off the nukes for as long as we can. But Jim Jones, who was a respected and highly regarded member of Obama's national defense team. He was the national security advisor for Obama. Well, all you hear on the left is how horrible it was, and this is going to escalate, and there was no threat that was imminent, all this other crap. Nobody on the left is saying, thank you, Mr. President, for taking down one of the most evil terrorists on the planet. But here's Jim Jones from the Obama administration and what he had to say about it.
Removal of Soleimani, you take the accidental downing of the civilian aircraft, coupled with the amount of popular unrest, the needle towards possible collapse of a regime, it has to be something that people think about. it's probably not politically correct to talk about it, but you have to think about it.
How close do you think we are to that?
That's hard to say.
He went on in that interview, Frankie, on CNBC to talk about how the president absolutely did the right thing taking this guy out. And between taking out Soleimani and the aftermath of shooting down a commercial airliner, there's unrest in the streets in Iran. The sanctions are squeezing them. And he was saying that, without firing a bullet, the regime may implode there because the people are getting completely uneasy with their government.
Well, yeah, I would caution James Jones and a lot of other national security veterans about itching for regime change, and he used the word himself there. Very rarely has it worked out well for the United States when we've been the precipitators of regime change in foreign countries.
Yeah, but what he was saying, Frankie, wasn't that we were going to cause regime change. He was saying that people may be overlooking the fact that the pot is boiling over. Soleimani's gone. They shot down a commercial airliner. There's outrage in the streets. The people are starved. Gas prices are up. 90% inflation going on. He was saying that the collection of those events not would cause regime change, would cause this regime to implode. And hearing that from a former Obama is pleasing to me.
An implosion is a change, right?
So, yeah. But I'm saying not U.S. administered regime change. He was saying there's a boiling pot and it may just boil over.
It may indeed. But I would just offer Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, and even to some extent Ukraine as cautionary tales as what can happen when the United States is part of the domino effect of regime change in foreign countries.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Frankie and I are going to come back. Somebody on some psychedelic mushrooms or something got a hold of Mike Bloomberg's phone last night because he was tweeting out some stuff that, he made Donald Trump's tweets look reasonable. We're going to take a close look at all the stuff this Mike Bloomberg was tweeting during last night's debates. And then after that, I see her right over there. But Zen Sams is going to be right here. We're going to take a quick break, come back with more Women Wednesday on Liquid Lunch right after this.